Alright boys, let's talk some Heat Nuggets. I'm getting this video out a day later than I'd like to, so my bad. Series should be awesome. Nuggets have been the most entertaining team in the league as far as I'm concerned the whole season, and the Heat, yeah, they crushed my dreams of a Celtics title, but I still love watching them play. So, real quick, Tyler Hero is aiming for a Game 3 return. I will mention him in this video, but it's not going to be like a whole big thing on him, because we're going to have to see how he looks first. I mean, everybody else on the internet has said this, so I will say it as well. It's going to be very hard to run a zone against Denver because Jokic can just do anything pretty much, right? If the middle of the floor is open, Jokic will plant himself right around the free throw line, and then from there, you got to put bodies on him, and then it's shooters, it's Aaron Gordon cutting or at the dunker spot or whatever. Could see it when Jokic is on the bench, so for what that's worth. So yeah, now if there's any mad genius who might be able to figure out a zone versus Denver, maybe it's Eric Spoelstra. But to think about, more typical stuff. So you imagine it's going to be a whole lot of Bam on Jokic. And I'll get into the someone else guard Jokic to allow Bam to be a roamer stuff in a second. But as far as Bam on Jokic, I mean, okay, let's see it, man. I imagine Bam's going to be physical as hell. His fouls situation is going to be a huge part of this series on Jokic. And I do wonder if we're going to see Bam fronting the post. I mean, the fear there, of course, is Murray or whoever throws it over the top to Jokic. You got to rotate over, and then from there it's them surveying, okay, who's open. And as we know, Jokic can make any pass. So Bam could just play him more conventionally, and then from there, like, how much help is Miami bringing? I mean, I imagine it's going to be quick little digs in, try to reach in on him, make him uncomfortable for a second, all that stuff. As far as hard doubles, well, like we know, hard doubling Jokic is just extremely difficult, but also single covering him is too. This is why the dude is who he is. And sure, you can always tell yourself, well, hey, listen, if Aaron Gordon's open at the three-point line, or if Bruce Brown's at the three-point line, like, we will live with that stuff as long as we can get an okay closeout. But if Gordon's in the dunker spot, if he's able to get his cut actions on, I say this every time I talk about the Nuggets, we shall see. But the interesting thing with Gordon is, if Jimmy is guarding Gordon for the sake of being a help defender, if Jimmy has a level of free roam that he can get to on defense because Miami finds a way to have Gordon not kill them, that could do a lot. Because Jimmy, he's not as big as Anthony Davis or Jaren Jackson as a help defender, but he's super smart. He's still pretty damn big in his own right. So we'll see. I do think it's possible he could have some time on Jamal Murray as well. I don't know what the perfect role for Jimmy is defensively in the series, but I would imagine he starts on Gordon. Now, as far as the other idea, which of course the Lakers did it with the Rui on Jokic stuff, sometimes AD as a roamer, can the Heat do their own version of that with Bam being able to play off Aaron Gordon? I mean, your three other big bodies besides Bam are Cody Zeller, Kevin Love, and Jimmy. Now, as far as Jimmy, he's got to do so much for you on the other end. I don't think you want to put that on his plate. Don't know if Cody Zeller's even in the rotation like that anymore. And then as far as Kevin Love, I mean, there have been stretches these playoffs where Kevin Love has held up okay enough defensively, mostly through just hedging and recovering on screen actions. Doing that against this Nuggets team with Jamal Murray is just going to be really, really hard. So we'll see there. I mean, if you can get some possessions with Kevin Love guarding Jokic in the post and then Bam can be a roamer, okay, I just don't know if Kevin Love can survive with all the screen stuff. And then after those guys, your options for Bam as a roamer would be wing players on Jokic and then doubling, and once again, doubling Jokic, very scary. So I don't know. It's going to be Bam most of the time, I would imagine. As far as Jamal Murray, I mean, the first question there is who the hell's guarding him, right? I mean, do you just start with Gabe Vincent, just play the matchup straight up, or do you want to put more size on Murray and go with Martin or Jimmy? Once again, how much do you want to put on Jimmy's plate defensively? He's a good defensive player, no doubt, but also other end of the floor. I don't know. The other question is, what are you doing on Jokic-Murray actions? And some of this, of course, is who is guarding Jokic between Bam or somebody else. Look, if you want to drop, the fear is that Murray's killing you on the pull-up, or he's forcing the big to commit to him and then backing up, and then Jokic has a smaller guy on him because you forced a switch, basically. If you want to switch and double, well, then you just doubled Jokic, so then you got to be amazing with your rotations around it. You want to be higher up on the screen, so Murray is not as comfortable coming around it. The pocket pass to Jokic might be there. This is why the Nuggets are so good. Because, of course, as all this is happening, you got Aaron Gordon lingering around somewhere for a potential lob or a roll to the basket, or MPJ or KCP relocating open for something, Bruce Brown's just general existence. This is going to be pretty basic. The biggest thing is execution, and the Heat have been out-executing everybody who has run into them so far. So I think they've definitely got a shot versus this Denver offense. Another thing, too, is will the Nuggets force, I don't know, let's say Duncan Robinson to be involved in some sort of an action where Jokic is involved, whether it's a handoff action, him screening for somebody, whatever. Of course, the Heat have done a good job of hiding their lesser defenders through the zone a lot of the time, but again, running zone versus the Nuggets might be more difficult, that whole thing. Anyway, I think we can go to the other side of this now. So, Jimmy mismatch hunting, that's always my number one thing with the Heat offense. How much is he going to be able to do it? I mean, I imagine he's going to target Jamal Murray a whole lot. And whether that's Murray's guy screening for Jimmy or the other way around, Jimmy screening for whoever Murray could be guarding in this thing. And just how do you deal with that if you're the Nuggets? Like, do you want Murray to hedge for a second and then get back to his guy? I mean, they tried that, and there were stretches of the Lakers series where like Austin Reeves was able to get some open shots off of that. Then they moved Murray to Schroeder when they could. I remember that in at least one of the games, when LeBron was trying to go at Murray. I assume Aaron Gordon will be the primary Jimmy defender. I'm sure the Nuggets will also not be afraid to have KCP or Bruce Brown end up on him. From Jimmy's perspective, he might just say, well, I'm bigger than these dudes, so let's go. But as we all know, they're good defenders. Will we see Jimmy trying to go at MPJ like that? I mean, will that be a thing that Jimmy can just attack time and time again? All we can do is wait and see. I mean, MPJ has improved pretty much across the board defensively. And then, of course, there's Jokic. So, in the 2 times these teams played each other in the regular season, Jokic was in a mix of coverages on Jimmy Bam screens. Like, some of it was Jokic at the level or high drop, whatever you want to call it. Other times it was him in more of a deeper drop. And so, I mean, we'll see just how many opportunities Jimmy will have coming around the screen, whether the pull-up is there, whether the dribbling through the paint and then bringing Jokic out there with you thing is there, which he did at times against the Celtics, unlike Time Lord or whatever. The other possibility is, can Jimmy just get into putting his head down and just going straight line drive to the rim around screens? But also, Bam is probably going to have some opportunities, whether it's him trying to go at Jokic, who is in a drop, and then he's building momentum up and potentially put your shoulder into him, or go to that free throw line or a little bit closer to the rim jump shot that I reference all the time with Bam, or potentially hard rolls to the rim if they can get that pass through there when Jokic is higher up on the screens. But of course, the Nuggets have been really good all playoffs and pretty much most of the season in rotating behind Jokic when he's at the level of the screen. Yeah, Bam is going to have to get busy a little bit with dudes rotating over to him and him just having the best offensive series you can imagine, or scoring series, you know what I mean. The next thing I want to mention is just Caleb Martin, because if he has another, the term I kept using was masterclass in you don't run the offense through me, but I get all my buckets anyway through transition, catch and shoots, catch and drives, little pump fakes, sidestep threes. Like if he has another one of those series, then that would be huge for him. And I think a lot of that's going to be dependent on how much defensive rotation Miami forces Denver into. And some of that's going to be how comfortable is Jimmy operating against certain defenders, like I just said. And also with the Nuggets pick and roll coverage, how high will Jokic be up on screens? The higher he is, the more rotations have to be behind him. And the Nuggets have been pretty much very good at rotations behind Jokic higher up on screens. But if Miami can get their skip passing / cutting / random off-ball screen stuff that we expect them to get because, again, they execute so well, then the opportunities could be there for Caleb Martin again. The other thing is, how is Jokic going to be guarding all the other Heat on screen actions with Bam? I mean, I suppose it's possible that Jokic could have possessions not guarding Bam with Gordon on Bam, but I just kind of wouldn't bet on it for long stretches. I could be wrong there, but yeah, I mean, look, in the Celtics series, when Gabe Vincent saw a drop when he was going out like Horford or Time Lord, he was able to make some pull-up jumpers on him, right? Duncan Robinson was able to get some daylight on like the handoff actions with Bam, and then Horford or Time Lord not all the way up on him. Similar things with Max Strus at times. So how does Denver want to play that? I mean, you could have Jokic higher up on those actions just because you've done that for pretty much the whole damn year. Regular season, that was their best coverage. Playoffs, it's been their best coverage. But they do sprinkle in the typical drop as well. And so, like, will the other Heat put fear in Denver's defensive coverages? And again, if Tyler Hero is going to be back for Game 3, then okay, there's another guy who can work off of Bam screens and get into the pull-up. Although there's definitely going to be a how many minutes does Tyler Hero get and how much of the offense do you give him and all that stuff. Anyway, I think I've said enough. If I missed something, my bad. My prediction, I'm going with the Nuggets in 6, and that is no disrespect to Miami. Maybe someone will interpret that as disrespect, but I don't mean it to be. This run that they're on is insane. They deserve all their flowers. And I think they can make this series ugly enough to get 2 wins out of it. But I just think the Nuggets are that good.